Hello and welcome to Master It Monday. I am your host, Maggie Carey, and today we have a special guest. Today we're going to be talking about how you can use Facebook groups to connect with your audience. And I have a very special guest because using Facebook groups is one of those things that sometimes people are a little confused about. And my friend, Robin, is awesome at this. So, Robin is the founder of Novare International and host of the Coming Out Late podcast and admin of the Coming Out Late Facebook group. Robin coaches and supports people who are questioning their sexuality and finding themselves at a crossroad of heteronormative life and a newly discovered gay lifestyle. So, as you can see by the description, Robin is a on fire person on the cutting edge of today's society. So let's pull Robin up and say hello. Welcome, Robin, to Master It Monday. How are you today?
I am great, Maggie. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it is totally my pleasure. So, Robin and I met in a group that was a bunch of entrepreneurs trying to grow their business. And on top of her amazing credentials, Robin has this insane sense of humor that always made my day. Her smile is just infectious. So, Robin, instead of me bragging on about you, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you and who you are and how you came up with your idea for your business?
Sure. Thank you so much, Maggie. And it's funny. You always tell me I miss my calling in stand-up comedy, but I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. So there's still chance. So yeah, I am the founder of Novare International and the host of the Coming Out Late podcast. You're going to hear Coming Out Late a lot in my description. I also started a Facebook group called Coming Out Late. It's a community of, at this point, predominantly women who are questioning their sexuality. You know, they find themselves that they have lived predominantly in a heteronormative life, being heterosexual, and then have now suddenly awoken to something different and are saying, holy cow, what do I do now? You know, I might be married, I might be dating men, whatever. But this also goes for both men and women. I also coach one-on-one with men also in the same boat, coming out late in life. So yeah, and this all came about as a result of a personal need. At the age of 54, I had a very surprising aha moment. I was married for 28 years and found myself questioning my sexuality, and am now divorced and living my best life and most authentic life as a gay woman. So I really provide as many resources and as much support as I can to the community. So that's what I'm up to at this point.
Awesome, Robin. And it does, this is something that hits home for me because I have gay children in my life. So this is something where I think the community of people where sometimes it's hard to find your people, right?
Mm,
It's so hard to find your people. There are some people who still are living in the dark ages, and we're not going to talk about them today. But there's an ever growing support community, and I think it's growing. Right, we still have a way to go. We've come a long way, but
yes.
there's still a long way to go. So, one of the things that impressed me about you, Robin, was that you took your passion and what you've gone through in your experience, and you went out and sought other people that were where you were when you started,
Hmm.
right? And are pulling them in, but you're using, and this is where it comes out to social media. So, Robin, did you have a lot of experience with social media prior to starting this new venture?
Well, I'd have to say I had experience on a personal level with Facebook. You know, really, that's about it. And in fact, my kids cannot believe how involved I am in social media now because I was not super involved when I was raising them. Never didn't even know what a podcast was. 10 years ago, and didn't really start listening until really over only in the last couple of years. So Didn't have a lot of experience, but it's not difficult, especially, if you pick one social media type and dive into it and spend your time understanding and learning and being involved, it's really not difficult to learn.
And you chose Facebook.
I did. I did choose Facebook, probably initially because that's what I was most familiar with.
Mhm.
Uh, but as it turns out, I would say that the predominant the audience that I serve are really in Facebook. These are people that are 30 plus years old, and Facebook has been around a long, long time, and many people are familiar with it. And I'm trying to think of how I first was led to Facebook. I mean, there were not many groups. I've been out for 7 years now, and there were not many groups around that focused on this type of topic. So I think I did find one and joined that group and found, oh my gosh, there are other people like me, other like-minded people, other women going through this experience, men going through this experience. And I chose Facebook, I guess, because I was most familiar with it, and it's really pretty easy to use, and also caters to the 30, 40, 50, and 60 plus community.
And it's one of the things at Master at Media that I tell my clients and people who are listening to to our Master at Mondays and our YouTube videos and LinkedIn. It's all about knowing your audience.
Mm,
It's like you need to speak their language. You need to be where they are.
yes.
It's like, okay, so I'm a B2B, right? I have to be on LinkedIn, right? Because a lot of business professionals are on LinkedIn. But
Hmm.
I seem to attract women of a certain age. Let's just say it like that, okay? And they're on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
But I also have to keep up with trends. So I have to, because I'm social media, I got to be everywhere, and it can
Mm,
be overwhelming. Now it's overwhelming for me, and I do this all the time. So
yeah.
I can imagine how overwhelming it would be for a business who just is trying to figure out a social media platform. But I love what you did because you picked the platform based on your audience. You picked the platform based on the fact that it's easy for you to use because you know it, or it's
Hmm.
easier than others. And you also kind of zoned in on it, and you found these Facebook groups as a way of um, doing something that gives you a little bit of privacy, right?
Hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
you have a public facing, like we have your Instagram, like people can go there and they can find where your podcast is and all of that, which is great. But in this, tell us a little bit about how you built the private Facebook groups, and what your criteria is for joining, anything like that, I think would be really informative for us to learn about.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would not have zoned in on Facebook if my people were not there. I would go, well, as a user or a person in need of support. I guess I did some of the research to find out where are other people like myself, and it turns out predominantly we were in Facebook. So, so I was a member of this other Facebook group, and little by little, other groups have popped up. Certainly, there are lots and lots of LGBTQ Facebook groups that are out there. So I decided that I really wanted to start my own group and keep it private, because these are private conversations. These are private topics. They're very sensitive issues. I mean, you feel like your whole world is blowing up, and you don't know which way to turn. You don't know who you can talk to about it. And when you find a community of other like-minded people that are going through this crazy turmoil, it is just it's like putting on your favorite slippers and your favorite bathrobe. I mean, it's so comforting. It's so comforting to know that there are other people like you in it. And I work very hard at keeping it private. We've had a lot of people try to get into our group that were scammers. And there are spouses of people that are coming out late that want to get in. There are, the privacy of it is really, really imperative, because, like I said, these are very, very sensitive topics. People are pouring their heart and souls out to us in Facebook. I take it very seriously. It's my duty to keep these people safe, so that they can continue to get the support they need within the group.
Now, so do you have some kind of a vetting process, a questionnaire, or like how some of the Facebook groups have those kind of like rules and regs of
Yes.
policies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to say too that my Facebook group and Facebook in general is so popular that I am getting 100 requests a week from women who want to join
Oh my
my
gosh.
Facebook group. It's 100 people a week. So it's really exciting. And I have four required questions. The first one is, do you identify as a woman that is coming out late in life? Simple yes or no. And let's see what else. I ask how old they are currently and how old they were when they came out, just so that I can then tailor conversations, maybe point them in the direction of other resources that might be tailored to their age group. And I also ask for their email address. And lastly, I just ask that they agree to the terms and conditions and the rules of our group, which is really about being all inclusive and being polite and respectful and things like that. And I go through, I now have one volunteer that helps me, but we go through every single request and make sure they have to have answered all four questions. And some people apply that say that they've come out at 17 years old and they're now 32. And I was like, I don't think this group is for you. You've been out since you were 17. We are a group of women who really, really need support. And
And
so it's,
And that's, again, speaking to your audience, right? This is your target
yes.
audience. This is where your experience is. This is who you
Hmm.
can help, right? It's funny that you mentioned like that you have help, like, because that's how it starts, right? You start small, and then as you expand, you grow and you find people who can help you through. You had mentioned that you were sick and you couldn't do it, right? Like you have to have, as
Hmm.
you're growing so fast. Now, you have more than one group, right? You have
Well,
many.
actually, I have one Facebook group. It's called Coming Out. Well, let me back up. I did have two. There was
Okay,
an admin of another group that said that she didn't want to be the admin anymore. She didn't want to manage the Facebook group, and gave me that group. So for a while, I was managing two groups, and we just recently, in the a month or two ago, started the process of merging the two groups because
great idea.
they were identical groups. It made no sense to have two. So I
Mhm.
now have one private Facebook group, but what I have added to that are support groups. So through promoting on my Facebook page, I let them know that I have support groups that I do in Zoom on a weekly basis. And it started out as one a week, and then I added an evening one, and then I've added a third one. And now I have four support groups that I offer for $5 a person to attend each week. And it has been incredible. I mean, the conversations that we've had in there are amazing. And because I am the admin of my own Facebook group, I'm able to promote those services there, as well as I do one-on-one coaching with people. And I also have a podcast. So I promote my podcast in the Facebook group as well. And what's really interesting, I'm finding out, is that there are a lot of men that listen to my podcast because really, when you're coming out late, our issues are the same. It doesn't matter whether you are a woman coming out late married to a man, or a man coming out late married to a woman, or maybe you're single. Your issues and topics and subject matters are really very, very similar. So I am now starting a Facebook group, I'm sorry, a support group just specifically for men so that they can come together and spend an hour and talk about the issues that they're facing. And I'm also accepting male clients into my one-on-one coaching. So there's a lot you can do with Facebook in terms of branching out and offering other things. I mean, you could even do live videos right in Facebook. Um, there is so much you can offer to your audience. And as I said, I think my Facebook group is only about 18 months old, and I have close to 3,400 women in that group now. And like I said, it's growing 100 people a week.
That is insane. Like,
Yeah.
and I think it speaks to you. First of all, you've got such an amazing personality, right?
Oh,
You
thank
you
you.
you just draw people to you. I mean, I was always excited when
Aw.
you were in a call. Like I was like, oh, stop it. But here's the thing: when you do this, when you first started this, you weren't pitching to people. You were just
Mm-mm.
saying, here is a place, a safe place where you
Mm-hmm.
can come and meet people just like you. You took it seriously. You then said, okay, now I'm going to monetize it, but I'm not going to monetize it for $10,000 a ticket,
Right.
right? You're taking small steps to, like, here's the ladder, right? Like, you
Yes.
come in, it's free. If you want to join one of our support groups, $5, cup of coffee, like that's nothing, right? And
Yep.
then then it's the next level. Well, I need one-on-one coaching. And that's when they reach out to you for one-on-one, right? So you
Hmm.
provide these. And you also do, are you doing, I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, but I know at one point you were talking about holding events and conferences.
Yes, yes. One of the events that we're doing starting in March are retreats. So it's great to meet in Zoom. They have been extremely helpful, the support groups. But so many of the women just want to hang out, and they want to do social things, and maybe they live in parts of the country that it's just not possible for them. So I am launching starting in March. Our first one will be in Florida, probably the Tampa area, where I will rent a house for the whole month of March, and I will probably have two distinct weeks where we have a retreat for anybody who's in the area or who wants to fly in, and just really talk about in person the issues and struggles and opportunities that we have. And then there'll be another one out in the Scottsdale, Arizona or Sedona area in April. And there are so many other things that are in the works, small group coaching sessions. And I wanted to also emphasize too that it takes time to grow these Facebook groups. Like right now, I'm in a really great groove, but it does take time, and it doesn't grow on its own. You have to put water in your watering can, and you've got to sprinkle it over your members, and literally be in your Facebook group every day. Some people say half hour. I personally, if it is the meat of where your audience reside, I would be in it for a couple of hours a day, because it's where you will get to know them, and where they will get to know you.
And people expect, when they post on Facebook, they expect, kind of like, they don't want to wait 2 days,
Right.
for a reply. They want a reply right away. And I know it's tough sometimes to be on there all the time, but it's also one of those things where you've built the relationship. And it's like, I always say to somebody, like, you go up to somebody and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they say, "Hey," back, and then you walk away. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it's like, because
Right.
you have to remember there's the social aspect of social media. Like,
Mhm.
this is why, as you're building the group, as you're growing it, and you don't just sit on your laurels and say, "Hey, people come to me."
Mm-mm.
You went out and you used Facebook to communicate with other people, right? Like, you went to
Absolutely.
other groups, you were a guest speaker on other podcasts that had your ideal client sitting in the audience. So you could say
Mhm.
something like, "Hey, follow me at my podcast. Hey, here's my Instagram account. Hey, here's my
Exactly.
email," right? So that
Exactly.
you're it's the way of getting the word out to people. And you can't just rely on the social media platform. You have to, I always say, like, you have to pull, number one, you got to pull them off platform too, right? So
Mm.
you've got your group, but how do you communicate with them? Like, when they do Zoom, I'm assuming they've got to give you an email address, right? Like, they've got
Right.
to contact you. You want to pull them off and eventually, develop some kind of email campaign or text campaign, or, you know, have eventually you're going to have a website. Eventually you're going to have this, but you don't have to have all these things to start.
Right.
You have
No.
you have an email account, you have an online presence, and you have credentials, right?
Yep, that's so
And
true. And we are actually, there's been a desire to start a book club. So that's something that's another event that I'll be doing on a monthly basis. And I'm also launching in January something called the 2023 Vision Workshop, where it's going to be a year-long event, and it's being offered to the people in the Facebook group. And that is a
lovely.
paid event. But what it does is we'll spend an entire intense month in January laying out and mapping out the vision for their life, because I've always spoken to my members that this is more than just coming out late. This is an opportunity to rewrite the map of your life. So that's what we plan on doing starting in January. And then we have accountability every quarter. We will get together for another 90 minutes, and then I have office hours each month for those people that are in the program. so that we can check in. Because the other thing too is that our vision for ourselves for an entire year changes, and so we have to give ourselves permission to rewrite that map and rewrite what we envision for ourselves for the coming year. And so we revisit it through our office hours, and just kind of tweak our map and tweak our vision for the rest of the year as we go. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that initially it required me to be very active in the Facebook group, and I still am. But you'll find too that once people start contributing and sharing and feeling comfortable, that it does take on a life of its own. That I'm not the only person that's responding, because quite frankly, I don't have all the answers, and I let people know that all the time. And I don't have the same situation perhaps as someone who maybe has six small children at home. I don't. I have grown children. So it's really important to foster the open communication between members. And some of them, in fact, one of my support groups came about as a result of somebody posting they were over 50 years old and they wished that there was a place for them to go with other women over 50 years old. So I started the 50 plus and fabulous support group, and we meet every other Thursday so that we can, and it's really funny to
It's
hear this,
wonderful.
the conversations in there are so different than the other support groups.
Yeah. But I think that's again like where you had that kind of filter through, right? Because people can bond on a common interest, right?
Hmm.
They've got this commonality that that's relatable to each other. So they're going through not the same things, but they're going through things, or they can at least relate to the things that are going on, right? And it's not so easy to kind of find people that match that unique demographic, right?
That's so
So,
true.
and I love the fact I think sometimes businesses just put stuff out there, right?
Mm.
And just throw up content I'm using the word throw up literally, right? Like they just put up this content and content and content, but they're not thinking about their audience. They're not inspiring communication
Yes.
between like ask it's as simple as asking a question, right?
Oh,
It's
yes. Yeah. I actually want to speak to that, because one
yes,
of the other beautiful things about Facebook, there's so many things you can do. You can create polls, and rather than create something that I think everybody wants, I'll start by asking them. For instance, right now we are trying to decide how we want the support groups to look in 2023, and what days and times of the week are best for everybody, because we have had so many new members join. So I polled them. Like I'm not just going to throw out a date and a time and say, here, this is when the support group is, and you all need to conform to that. I'd rather find out when are they available. Many women have more opportunity to meet during the day, so we have a group for them. We have women who need to meet after work, so we have a group for them. So Facebook really gives you an opportunity to get to know who your members are, who your audience is, and you can poll them. You can, I mean, they're just it's really a very flexible platform, and where you can really earn that know, like, and trust factor as well. And it's real. They
right.
really get to know you.
And we talk about this all the time. Like, it is a free way to do your market research,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
you have now. Look, the heart of it is I want to help you, right? Because
Hmm.
that's how you always approach people. How can I help you, right?
Hmm.
And any business should be that you should be the answer to a problem, right?
Yep.
That somebody has. So now you're taking it and micro topping it down to okay, so what are you more interested in? An in-person event or a virtual event? Say they pick in person. Now you can even deep dive like what area, mountain,
Yes.
central, east coast, west coast,
Yes.
right? And then now you're getting more. Like it's so funny. I'm a member of a group and they keep meeting in the same place and there are people that live near that area and I'm like, you're so lucky. You don't have to airfare, you don't have to,
Mm.
and then there's other people that are in that area that are like, I want to go away. I want to get away from the house. I want to get on the plane. I want
Yes.
to go to a hotel and I am like here.
It's so true, so
So,
true. That's how the retreats came about, because people want to meet in person,
mm,
and many of them, when you come out late, you're shy. Like there are so many that are timid and don't know how to. I mean, if you grow up in a heterosexual world, predominantly the men make the first move. Well, suddenly you're now considering being in a same-sex relationship. The rules are so different. And we talk about that. We talk about, how do you flirt with somebody? How do you ask somebody out? How do you put yourself out there? And so the retreats really came about as a need and a desire from the community. And yeah, in fact, we also do speaker summits. I do quarterly speaker summits. I promote them and talk about them within the Facebook group, and I even poll them for the type of topics that we cover in our speaker summits. And because again, why, I may think one topic is absolutely going to knock it out of the park and everybody will be interested in it, and it's not the case. So again, you have an opportunity to poll the people who are in your community and say, hey, I want to do a speaker summit. In fact, in February, we're doing a speaker summit on money management, because we're all women, who are trying to figure out how to manage our money. What are our rights, during divorce? How to handle our finances, and that came about as a need as well.
yeah. It's such a wide breadth of topics, right? It's not just one thing, right? I
Hmm.
just can't wait to see wedding photos because that's what I want to see. We met in
Oh, they
Robin's Coming Out Late
people are
community. Yeah.
people are posting them. It's beautiful to see. It's
Oh,
so
I love
beautiful to
wedding photos.
see. Yeah, engagement photos, and people even post in the Facebook group, I want to propose to my significant other. Give me some ideas. How did you do it? Or yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really, really beautiful community.
Oh, so
It's like
lovely.
a family.
And I think that, like, we and I'm gonna say the word buy, right? We buy or we invest our time, our money, whatever,
Mm,
right? Because of emotion.
mhm.
It's very rarely logical. I mean, think about
That's
the things
true.
you've bought, right? Your home, your car, the people you spend time with, the places you go. It's the way it makes you feel when you're there or when you're with them, right?
Mhm.
So you've built such an amazing community um, of warm-hearted, helpful people that I think, and the fact that they help each other and they're willing to
Mm.
help, and the fact that you're so transparent. It's like, I don't have all the answers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's I'm just struggling just like you are. I'm just a little bit, I've been there. So I've got
Yes.
this. But I
Yep.
wanted to just take a second, like, if you haven't um, check this out. This is Robin's podcast. You can
Mhm.
go up there, you can find her. She's we said Apple Podcasts
Apple, Spotify,
and
pretty much,
Spotify.
yeah, it's all over.
And so check it out. Listen to what she has to say. If you know somebody who is, questioning, even questioning their sexuality,
Mhm.
I encourage you to reach out. Listen, have them listen to Robin's podcast. I'm sure it's filled with her amazing sense of humor as well. Um, and then follow her Instagram here. She has, you can, and when you go up there, she's telling you what's coming up.
Mhm.
So you can have a link to her podcast if it's difficult to find, which I don't think, because it's just Coming Out Late podcast. Look for Robin's gorgeous face and you'll find her. That was that little um, the here,
Cartoon.
this little cartoon,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And then don't forget that if you have any questions, you can. Robin was kind enough to give us her email so that you can, and I'll put the information in the comments below. Because here's a way that we can help the community right now. When Robin and I first met, she was like, well, this is for women. Right now she's expanded to include men because men need help as well, right? Like, but she had to start with something, right? We
Mhm.
we start and then we expand as we grow. She didn't have all these things or plans for events, and it's evolving. Take the step and just do what you can and make it happen. I mean, you're such an inspiration, Robin, and I think
Thank you.
taking what you've done and building your business the way you have is inspirational, and it's also filling a much needed space in the community and the world, because it's also letting people know, like, look, people, she is 5,000 now, I think you said, right?
No,
At 100, 35.
3,400, about 100 people joining a week. Yeah, and 2,000 people listen to the podcast every week. It's a weekly podcast.
And here is where these numbers are going to grow
Mm,
exponentially, as you know. So hop on over, follow her, follow her podcast. If you know somebody who would find it helpful, send them a link to it. This is where the community, as allies, we need to support the LGBT plus community, and let them know that they're not alone, and that they
mm.
have, they have these straight people who've dominated the world, ready to show them that we are here to help them as well. And we don't always,
Oh,
we're getting better in the United States, but there's a lot of countries
mm,
that, you know,
sad.
this is sad, right? So
Yeah.
use Facebook. Take Robin's ideas on how she leveraged Facebook, and groups to grow her audience. She just cared about them, right, Robin? It all
Yes.
started with you just, I'm not making any money. I'm just
Yeah.
helping people. And now she's building her business, right?
Yep.
You can't start out the gate pitching, because you're just going to turn people off,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. You got to build relationships, and it's very easy to do in Facebook to build relationships.
Yeah. So I do have to ask you one last question.
Okay.
And that is, so we talked a lot about Facebook, but is there another platform that you are finding that you're kind of, I'm liking the what's this doing?
Oh, yeah. I am going to be making an enormous splash in TikTok for 2023. TikTok is booming. And I know that there are so many different gender expressions. There's, pansexual, asexual, and gender fluid, and all sorts of things. But everybody keeps raving about lesbian TikTok. Women are addicted to it. So, yeah, TikTok is a huge platform that I can't wait to get heavily involved in. And I'm looking forward to that.
Sorry, I started talking and I wasn't on screen, so that was very helpful. No, and now, have you created your TikTok account yet?
No, not really. I have a TikTok account, but I haven't put any thought into it, so I
Okay.
can't even give you my hand. I don't even
So
know what my handle is.
teasers,
Yes,
make sure you check, follow Robin on Instagram, because when she goes to
oh
TikTok, she'll
yeah,
let you know. And
definitely.
I'm sure she'll tell you on her podcast. This is where, like she said, she landed on one, she grew it on one. Like, we know somebody who killed it on YouTube and then went to TikTok and now is killing it on TikTok, right? But if he did both at the same time,
Oof, it's hard.
it's overwhelming. It
Mhm.
can be overwhelming. Nail it in one, and then grow and expand, and and make sure, just one tip from Master It Media: go out to the major platforms, and by major I mean Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We don't know what's happening with that, but still Twitter, TikTok, Google Business. Secure your brand. Get
Mm,
your at whatever, like, I have at Master It Media on all of my socials, right? Because for me, I wanted to make sure, as a social media agency, like, that I had those names, right? If you can't find something similar, get something close to it, so people know it's you. Like, Robin's amazing because she always puts her face, right? It's her on. She doesn't just use her logo, because her logo wouldn't be the thing that's recognized. She would be the thing that's recognized. So play to your
right.
audience, right? And I just want to thank you, Robin, because it's always fun to have a guest on, but to have someone like you with such positive energy and doing
Thank
such
you.
good in the world is
Thank you.
amazing. So
Thank you so much.
it
I
was my
love what I do. I love what I do.
and it shows. And you know what? I think that this is sometimes, I tell my kids all the time. They're like, I don't know what to do. I don't, for my job, I don't know what to do for this, right? And I tell them, I'm like, what do you love?
Mhm.
What do you love? I have someone in my life who had to get forced retirement, right?
Mm,
And she's depressed, and she's like, oh, I don't know what my job, I loved my job. I
mm,
loved what I did. And I said, well, okay, so you loved what you did, but what else do you love? You know,
mhm.
and look at the things that you love in your life and create your business,
Yep.
because, like you took something that was so intimate and so personal and have created this amazing, club of women that are
Yeah.
looking, and now men,
And now
that
men.
that are just like drawn to you. So the stand-up comedy will come. I agree. I think you need to blend it in. I think when you do your retreat, you're gonna
I
have a
think so
stand-up
too.
comedy night,
I think so too.
and make it happen. But, it's just very she's got a very dry sense of humor that, like, and just the wit. It's witty. It's beyond, right? Like, it's wit. It's actual, like, play on words and
Yeah,
puns, and oh my gosh, so much fun.
warped
So
wit.
so I want to again, Robin, thank you. Thank you for those of you who watched. I hope you found this helpful,
Thank
and I'm
you.
sure you found it inspiring because Robin is the bomb. Make sure I'm going to put up her information again. Her podcast coming out late, her Instagram account at late.blooming.lesbian, and her email coming out later in life. As always, I'm Maggie Carey from Master It Media. You can follow me on all the socials at Master It Media. Our YouTube channel's over 200 videos of information to help you grow your social media presence. And if you're still tired of doing your social media, check out Painless Posting because in less than 5 minutes a day, you can have your content done. So that is what we have for today. Robin, thank you again for joining us. I hope you all have a fabulous day. And remember, here at Master It Media, we help you take the commotion out of your promotion.